For most of the modern NBA era, the conversation about the best American basketball player has centered around the same handful of names. LeBron James defined a generation. Steph Curry changed how the game is played. Kevin Durant became one of the most technically gifted scorers the sport has ever seen. But over the last several years, a different name has quietly moved to the front of that conversation. The argument is far stronger than most people expect.
Great no-look to Zizic, who puts it home.
How about that? Everybody, even myself.
Jalen Brunson, a player passed over in the first round of the draft, built entirely without the luxury of top pick hype, has assembled a case that is difficult to dismiss when the numbers and the moments are placed side by side. The starting point for understanding Brunson's rise is where it began. He was selected 33rd overall in the 2018 NBA draft by the Dallas Mavericks, meaning 32 other players were chosen ahead of him. That is not a minor detail. In a league where draft position often shapes how an organization invests in a player, being a second-round pick creates real obstacles around playing time, development resources, and institutional patience. Yet Brunson worked through all of those obstacles steadily, building his game in Dallas before signing with the New York Knicks in 2022. From that point forward, everything changed, and the basketball world eventually had no choice but to pay attention. Before arriving in New York, Brunson had already shown what kind of player he was at the college level. He spent 4 years at Villanova, where he won 2 national championships in 2016 and 2018. As a junior, he earned National Player of the Year honors. That placed him among the finest college players in the country at that time. He also won Illinois Mr. Basketball and was named the MVP of the 2015 FIBA Under-19 World Cup, a competition that brings together elite young talent from across the entire globe. Those credentials showed a player who had already learned how to win at multiple levels before his professional career even started. What makes the Villanova chapter relevant to the larger argument is what it reveals about his approach to the game. Championship experience at the college level does not automatically translate to professional success, but it does establish habits around winning and pressure that carry forward. Brunson arrived in the NBA already familiar with the weight of important games. That familiarity showed up repeatedly as his career developed. The 2 national championships were not just trophies. They were evidence of a player who understood how to function when everything mattered most. In the 2024-25 season, Brunson led the Knicks to their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years. That alone would have been a remarkable achievement for any player, but he followed it the very next season by leading New York to their first NBA Finals appearance in 27 years, a stretch of time that covered nearly 3 full decades of disappointing basketball for one of the league's most visible franchises. During the 2025-26 regular season, he averaged 26.0 points, 6.8 assists, 3.3 rebounds across 74 games while earning his 3rd consecutive All-Star selection and his 2nd straight start in that game. He was also named to the All-NBA second team for the 3rd consecutive season, a mark of sustained excellence that separates him from players who simply have 1 or 2 standout years. The significance of these achievements extends beyond the raw statistics themselves. Brunson's performance has fundamentally altered how the Knicks approach high-pressure basketball situations. Throughout the 2025-26 season, the team's fourth-quarter execution improved dramatically compared to previous years, a transformation that was far from coincidental. When a point guard of Brunson's caliber operates in crunch time with such efficiency, it creates a cascading effect throughout the entire roster. Teammates become more confident in their roles and decision-making processes. The defensive schemes that opponents employ become increasingly predictable because so much attention must be devoted to stopping one exceptional player. What emerges is a basketball environment where execution flows naturally from preparation and trust. The Knicks organization understood this dynamic when they constructed their roster around his strengths, ensuring that every subsequent acquisition has been designed with Brunson's skill set as the organizational foundation. On January 30th, 2026, Brunson scored 26 points in a win over the Portland Trail Blazers and surpassed 10,000 career points in the process. Reaching that milestone speaks to the consistency of his production across multiple seasons. For context, the players who accumulate career points at that rate are almost exclusively first-round picks, franchise cornerstones, or both. Brunson arrived at that number as a former second-round selection who was not given the kind of structural advantages that typically accelerate player development. He also became the first Knick to record back-to-back 15-assist games since Mark Jackson in 1989. That demonstrates the breadth of his playmaking at an elite level that goes well beyond scoring. The clutch performance argument is where the case for Brunson becomes almost undeniable. On April 23, 2026, he was named the NBA Clutch Player of the Year. During clutch situations throughout that regular season, he led the entire league in made field goals with 52, ranked second in total points with 156, and third in total assists with 28. Those numbers represent the most high-leverage moments of basketball, the possessions where the game is closest and the stakes are highest. Performing at that level in those moments is not something that can be manufactured with volume or usage. It requires a specific kind of mental composure that very few players in the league actually possess. The postseason numbers push the case further. Throughout the 2026 playoffs, Brunson scored 105 total fourth-quarter points while shooting 59% from the field, 62% from beyond the arc, 93% from the free throw line. Those percentages in that specific context, the final quarter of playoff games, represent an extraordinary level of execution. He also became one of only 4 players in NBA history to record 10 postseason games in a single run with at least 30 points and 5 assists. The other 3 players in that group are Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a list that requires no additional commentary about the company he is keeping. He also became only the 3rd player since 2000 to record 5 straight postseason games with 35 or more points against the same opponent, joining LeBron James and Steph Curry. That particular achievement matters because consecutive dominance against the same opponent is harder to sustain than a single breakout game. By the 3rd or 4th game in a series, the opposing defense has watched every available piece of film and has targeted their entire scheme towards stopping one player. Brunson continued to score at that level regardless. That places him in a category of postseason performers that most players never reach, regardless of their regular season production. The Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland brought one of the more remarkable individual performances of the entire season. In Game 1, with the Knicks facing a 22-point deficit, Brunson scored 38 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, added 6 assists, and recorded 3 steals. He scored 17 of those points in the 4th quarter and overtime alone, leading a 44-11 run that overcame the massive deficit and ended with a 115-104 victory. The Knicks went on to sweep the Cavaliers. Brunson was named the Eastern Conference Finals MVP with averages of 25.5 points, 7.8 assists, 3.3 rebounds across that series, sending New York to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Game 1 of the 2026 NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs provided the clearest single window into what separates Brunson from most players at his position. Early in the first quarter, Harrison Barnes fell onto his right leg, and Brunson immediately grabbed his knee in pain, eventually leaving for the locker room. He returned while the Knicks were trailing. Later in the second quarter, he fell awkwardly on his ankle and suffered a sprain. He kept playing through both of those injuries. In the 4th quarter alone, he erupted for 13 points on 5 of 9 shooting, outscoring every other player on the floor during that period. The Knicks won 105-95, completing a 14-point comeback on the road. Finishing a game like that, against a formidable opponent, through 2 separate injuries, in the first game of the NBA Finals describes a specific kind of competitor that very few basketball players have ever been. The contract Brunson signed in the summer of 2024 adds a different dimension to the argument. He signed a 4-year, $156.5 million extension, a deal that represented the maximum he could earn at that specific point in time, but came in more than $100 million below the maximum he could have commanded if he had waited until the following summer. That decision placed winning ahead of personal financial leverage, a choice that speaks directly to the leadership qualities that define how his teammates respond to him. He is described as measured and unassuming with the media, but intensely competitive on the floor. That contrast between public restraint and on-court ferocity has become one of the defining characteristics of his identity as a player. The Knicks follow his lead. The trajectory of their franchise over the last 3 years reflects exactly what that kind of leadership can produce.
Hey Jalen, it's Patrick. If someone told me the young boy running around the Garden would grow up to be the captain of the New York Knicks, you know what? I'd probably believe them. Even as a kid, you could connect with anyone around you. And the confidence, you'd walk up to anyone in that locker room and say just about anything.